What's up, everybody? Welcome to a quick look at reinforcement placement with Joan.
Wow, we get the whole radio announcer voice going on
Right?
today. Love it. So, did you want to invite some people or?
Yeah, I'll work on inviting folks. Why don't you get everyone going?
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about reinforcer placement, which I think is something that not everybody is really cognizant of when they're training. So when you're delivering your reinforcement, it's really great if you could be cognizant of where you're placing it and why, and trying to be strategic about reinforcer placement so that the placement of the reinforcer helps your training rather than hinders your training or is sort of neutral to the training, which is perfectly fine. And like a little bit of history on me and this topic is that I either use a wheelchair or crutches for training because I was in a riding accident many, many years ago, and so I've never really trained without either of those. So I've never really been able to run around after an animal or a kid to deliver reinforcement. So for me, the click or the tag has really had to be the thing that gives all the information to the learner, or as much information as possible to the learner. So I have really wanted whatever comes after the click or the tag to be sort of incidental and not of any significance to the learner. And so I have since learned that even I can use the reinforcer placement to my advantage in some situations. So I don't always need the learner to get all their information from the click or the tag. The placement of the reinforcement can also help move the training forward. So when you click or tag and then you give a reinforcer, there's going to be a time gap between those two, and there should be. But whatever behavior happens between those two will inevitably be reinforced to some degree by the primary reinforcer. So if I click and then my dog barks at me and then I give him a treat, then I'm going to be inadvertently reinforcing that bark. So maybe he sat and I clicked, he barked, I give him a treat, then I could train that barking in as sort of a superstitious behavior. So it's got no significance to me, and it's not part of the behavior I'm trying to teach, but the dog gets the idea that he needs to bark for me to give him a treat. So that's one of the things that you need to be cognizant of. So what am I going to say? What we really want is a cycle of training. So the learner does a behavior, and then we mark, click, or tag, and then the learner comes to us or does some other behavior to get the reinforcement, and then the whole cycle repeats. So what we really want is to deliver the reinforcement in a way that facilitates that kind of a smooth cycle of training. So I want to show you a video. It's a really good illustration of that. This is a dog training video. This is my friend Sarah Owings, who's an awesome trainer. And you'll see that she delivers the treat in a way that lets the dog start over. So instead of tossing treats into the tunnel, which is where she wants the dog to go, she's actually feeding the dog away from the tunnel, which seems a little counterintuitive, but if she's trying to teach him to go in there and he gets in there and gets a treat, then how does he get the next one? Like, how does she set it up to get a nice cycle? Well, you can't really. So what she does is feed outside the tunnel, so the dog goes in, gets a click, comes out, gets a treat, goes in, gets a click, comes out, gets a treat. And so she's got this really nice cycle, which lets her have a really high rate of reinforcement.
Alrighty, I couldn't for the life of me make this tunnel smaller, so we're going to just try this, but the criteria is just going to be sticking her nose in. And you ready, Zoe? The criteria actually is just any looking or moving towards that tunnel whatsoever. Okay, Zoe. Okay, that was 10 things. Good girl. Your spot.
So you can see how her placing the reinforcement outside of the tunnel helped facilitate that really beautiful cycle of training. So she got a high rate of reinforcement. The dog's moving all the time. There's no breaks while she tries to reset. So if she'd thrown the treat into the tunnel, then the dog might come out, but then she would never have that beautiful shaping cycle that we saw. Here's another video. This is one that you've seen before, maybe, if you've been watching these, but we could watch this one all day and see something different. This is a swimming lesson video, and all I want you to think about here is the reinforcement placement and why am I giving him the skittle outside of the pool instead of giving it inside this pool? Because I want him to go in the pool, so why don't I just give him the treat in the pool? Part of it is because I'm outside of the pool and I don't want to get wet, but that's not the primary reason, because I have a helper and she could deliver the food in the pool. So see if you can think about why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it.
The point is go to the second step. Okay, the tag point is go 3 steps. Okay, the tag point is go 3 steps. Tag point is go 4 steps.
Okay, we don't need to watch the whole thing, but you get the idea. So I don't know if anybody wants to write in the comments why they think I would be giving the reinforcer outside of the pool. And what behavior are we training? So there's multiple behaviors involved in the swimming, which is the ultimate behavior that we want to teach. But what we're working on right now is going into the pool. And so in order for him to go into the pool, he has to come back out of the pool. Best way to get him to come back out of the pool is to give him the reinforcer outside the pool. So that sets up that same nice cycle of training that we saw in the previous video, where he goes in, gets a tag, realizes he did it right, comes out, gets a reinforcer, goes back, repeats the behavior. Each time we're trying to get a little bit more, shaping him further and further into the pool. And eventually, if he needed it, to stay in the pool, if we were teaching the behavior of staying in the pool, then we might reinforce in the pool. So you could think about maybe another type of training like this is teaching a dog to lay on a mat. So if the dog goes to the mat and we click and throw the food away, he gets off, goes back on, we click, throw the food away, sets up a really nice cycle. And the behavior that we're teaching is going to the mat, approaching the mat, being on the mat. But staying on the mat, that's a whole different behavior. So if we want to work on staying on the mat, then we would deliver the reinforcer on the mat. So he's on the mat, we click and treat, and then click and treat again while he's still on the mat, click and treat again while he's still on the mat, then start adding some duration. So he has to be a little bit longer each time before he gets the click. And then for that kind of behavior, you probably don't even need a marker anymore. You could just use the food, every 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever, longer and longer for him staying on that mat. So then I'll show you another video. Oh, this reminds me, of course, these quick looks are brought to you by Terra Nova Training Center, who are the platinum sponsor for our conference, Convergence of Human and Animal Training and Technology.
Yay, Terra Nova.
Yeah, thank you. So it's going to be awesome because of them and everybody else, but this is going to let us bring you even more good stuff for the conference. So here's another video. This is another human video. And you'll see here that she inadvertently starts delivering the reinforcer a little differently. So he goes out, you've maybe seen this one before. He goes out the door, just to go out the door, she stops him, and then she is standing over there by the door. The goal of this teaching is to get him to go in the bathroom where he's afraid of the bathroom. So they were moving that target on the floor closer and closer to the bathroom. But when this situation switched and she's now standing by the door, you'll see that he actually has to pass the bathroom to get his reinforcer. So he's sort of inadvertently being conditioned to move towards the bathroom and not really think about it. So although this was not quite on purpose, you could see how you could set it up this way so that the learner is sort of moving towards your goal as part of the training cycle. So there we saw that he is now, every single time he's moving towards the goal of the bathroom, not just every time she moves the target closer. So that's another thing to sort of think about. Now I'm going to show you one of Sean Pogson's videos, and unless you're living under a rock somewhere in the human positive training community, you must have somehow encountered Sean, who's just doing an incredible job with his. Okay, good. Sorry about that. It's always something. One of these days we're going to have a perfect no tech failure broadcast.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what was I talking about?
I think you're going to show another video.
Shawnee and Tink, yes. So when you watch these videos, keep in mind that these parents were told that this child would never walk, never talk, should probably be institutionalized. And you'll see that that's just absolutely not the case. Oh, that's not the one. Okay, so this is a case of placing the reinforcement and delivering it quickly so that she doesn't put her hands all over her face. So previously she had wanted to touch her face and get paint all over, so you'll see how the reinforcer is delivered, and the reinforcer is getting her to put her hands in the paint. And the tag point is hands on paper. So you'll see this is her mom delivering the reinforcer in such a way that she's more likely to put her hands in the bucket rather than on her face. Oh, and there's Nat on here. Hi, Nat. And Donna and Maggie and Martha. So nice to see everybody here. So I just want to say publicly in front of everybody that Nat is just one of the best trainers I've ever seen. She's fantastic. Her timing is great. She doesn't talk. She has her tag point. She sticks with it. And she's super patient. She's just wonderful. Everything is wonderful about her teaching. And you can see Tink responding really well to that. Now here's the video of her dad, who's also awesome. This one, I think this one. So this is another reinforcer placement situation where the reinforcer is placed on the windowsill. So they're working on pushing to a stand. And you'll see that she has to stand up to get the reinforcer. You may notice how he looked at the camera like, look at that, because that was only a few seconds. And I think that might have been the first time that she actually did that on her own. So you can see it's a pretty powerful way to train. So I think, let me just see if there's one more. Oh yeah, here's another, this is the cat one. You might have seen this one before. This is also another situation where we put the reinforcer away so that the animal has a chance to come back and try again.
I would like this so he has no trouble touching it other than your hand.
Of course, that was not the video I intended. It's a different version of it. So you didn't see her actually delivering the treat. You can see her putting her hand up to get it, and then she would throw it. But it's edited out all the cat walking back and forth. But what happens is she gets the treat, she throws it on the floor, the cat goes away, he gets it. When she comes back, he's giving her the cue. She's giving the cat the cue to do the hand target. So essentially the click or the tag becomes a cue to the animal to go and seek the reinforcer. So it's a marker of the behavior, but it's also a cue. So that's important to keep in mind, that when you click, you're telling the animal, yes, you're right, and you're also giving them the cue to go and get the reinforcer. And sometimes you have to teach that. You know, if you're putting, say you're putting your reinforcer in a bucket for the horse to get, or you're putting it at a station for a whale to come and get, you might have to teach that animal as a separate exercise how to get the reinforcer. And if you do that, if you teach the animal how to get the reinforcer, then you will eliminate those kinds of problems that I talked about at the beginning, where you click and then the dog barks and then or he jumps on you and then you give him a treat and then you start, that becomes part of the reinforcer. If you originally teach the animal how to get the treat, and if it's going to be further away from you, that you work on that, build it up slowly, then your animal will understand that the cue, click, tag, is telling them that now they could get the reinforcer, and you've previously taught them how to get it. And it could be that it's different in different circumstances. So if you're going to switch your reinforcer delivery, then you may have to teach the animal or the child in a separate session where they have to go to get that reinforcer. So I think that's all I wanted to say. So my main point is, after 20 minutes, see, I still keep it. I wanted to keep these 15 minutes and I'm still 5 minutes over. So I got to talk less. That's my tag point. So my main point is, be strategic with your reinforcer placement. Think of it as a part of your training plan and figure out how you can use reinforcer placement to get a cycle going and to get the most out of your training, and to make sure that how you're delivering your reinforcement is not accidentally, setting your training back. So that's it. So is there any questions there, Ryan? Let me just show the screen of the conference. So
yeah, show that. Let me see. I'm having troubles loading some of the early ones.
the early questions, let me see if I can.
Yeah, there was one clarifying question, kind of statement, like, isn't this something that you showed me before, or something like that?
Oh, you and I just discussed this before. Oh yeah, it's Donna. Yeah, Donna says, you and I discussed this before, and to my understanding, it said it's a kind of behavior reset. Yeah, so you can look at it that way. In some circumstances, that's the way it is. So and this came up, actually, Donna, this whole session came up, Donna, because you asked me that question, and I thought, yeah, we should talk about that. With the swimming lesson video, you asked me, was that a way to reset his behavior? And yes. So because he comes back to me, it gives him a chance to redo the behavior. So it's more than just resetting, because it's that whole coming back to me. He gets the treat, he goes back to the pool. It's all part of the cycle. So I think it is a resetting, but it's also better to think of it as part of a cycle. And so how can we make it into a cycle of training rather than just like a sort of linear thing where we sort of start again at the beginning of each session?
Yeah.
So instead of having a beginning and a middle and an end of each, I don't know what you would call it, each part of giving the treat, like the behavior, well, the ABC. So instead of the ABC being the antecedent behavior consequence being like a discrete unit that you repeat, it's better to think of it as a cycle, because then you will get more fluid training and more fluency and faster fluency. So that's my answer to that.
There's another question from Natalie saying, how would you get better with timing with the tag and reinforcement?
How would you practice? And I'm sure you've noticed. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
And if you don't want to practice on your child and potentially mess things up, you could practice on an animal. Not that you want to mess up an animal, but there's sort of less at stake. And then there's also videos. Like in our TAGteach seminars, one of the things that we do is have people tag the video. So, and you can just do this. Yeah, you can just do this when you're watching TV. Like every time someone says the word "and," you click your clicker. Or every time there's a scene change in a TV show, you can click. Or anytime somebody puts their right foot forward or whatever. Or if you want to watch sports videos, I mean, that's how I learned to be good with the tagging with the sports, is getting videos. I got videos to figure out my tag points, and then I also used those videos to practice. So then I'd watch like a professional athlete doing something, and I would tag when I saw them doing the thing that I'm looking for. And then there's no consequences to anybody if you mess it up. And you can tell yourself, how much better you're getting at. You kind of know when you've missed it or when you're dead on. There's also some timing. There used to be this bird thing. I forget what it was called. You can probably, if you look up clicker training bird timing or something like that. I'll see if I can find it. It's basically a practice thing. It's with a mouse, so there's a little bit of a delay. But you teach this bird to peck faster or in a different direction, depending on what your criteria is. So I'll try and find that. But yeah, it's just practice, and you can't really mess it up too much, frankly.
Nice. Yeah, I used to have somebody, sometimes if it was really hard, I had someone over my shoulder that was kind of coaching me if I had the opportunity in the moment, kind of point things out.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get someone, one of the things that Steve White talked about at our conference was a triad training, which is a whole process that they have. But basically, you have three people, the person that's training the animal, the coach, and the observer. So somebody's observing and taking data, and someone is coaching to help you, and somebody is actually doing the training. Yeah. So it's always good to have extra people. Nat, I'm sure Sean would be happy to help you. I'm sure he's more than helpful.
Nice. I think that's all the questions.
Okay, good. So that's our another quick look. So I'll do another poll like we did the last time, and whatever gets to the top will be the next one that I do. And we're also going to have a special guest. Quick look. Probably next week, live from Clicker Expo. Yeah, Ryan.
I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, this Ryan doesn't even. I just found out about it yesterday. I made an executive decision. So
I like it.
Ava and Emily, who are fantastic, one of the original 2 tag teachers, and also superb clicker trainers. So they've been on the Clicker Expo faculty forever. So they're going to Clicker Expo this weekend. So we're going to try to do a quick look live on something. Nice. It's probably going to be on start button behaviors.
Okay.
And if you don't know what that is, you're going to find out.
Awesome.
Okay, so we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks all. Hey, Crystalina, I just saw you pop in.
Yep. Okay, bye everybody.